Welcome back to the podcast. So glad that you could make it. If this is your first time. If you're a returning listener, I don't really care. As long as you're here, that's all that counts. So thank you for that. It's been a fun week so far, and I feel like it's just getting started. So today's topic on the podcast is all about networking. This is a big one for me personally because I've always, classified myself as kind of like an introvert. I would say that my communication in general has never been amazing. It's never been, like super terrible, but it's somewhere kind of in that middle ground. And I've always thought that there was room for improvement. And so as I really started to begin my creative journey, I really started to look and see, how could I improve upon these things? How could I reach out to more people, see if there is a potential to collaborate together, or just talking to other creators in general. Like yesterday, I was interviewed by Jared Spink of the Hive podcast, And Jared's a guy I've been following for quite a while, and he has a great podcast. He's a very, very talented guy with his photography and video. Great guy. And so he had me on his podcast, and that is the result of talking with the guy, networking with him, and then I got an invite for the podcast, and it really meant a lot to me because I was like, this is really, really cool, and it's an opportunity, for future networking options where, now, somebody might hear me on that podcast and say, oh, Gary does such and such. He has a YouTube channel with his cousin Larry. Maybe there's an opportunity we can collaborate on something or whatever. Like, there's a number of things that can come off of just that one podcast. There is a number of things that could come off of me doing this podcast. Somebody random could be listening to this right now, and maybe they'll go back and listen to some other shows and say, oh yeah. Gary takes photos, so I'd love to talk with him or collaborate with him on something. And so it really just goes back to how networking is key, and it's something in my life that I never really leveraged very much until, in the last probably year or two. And I wish I'd gotten started on that a lot sooner. And in fact, after the podcast with Jared, I headed out to this place called Hangry Burger. Big shout out to Jen over there at Hangry Burger. This was a post on a Facebook group, the Northern Virginia Foodies. For those of you that don't know, I live in Northern Virginia. It's just outside of Washington, D.C. And, I like to look at that group. I told her this yesterday. I like to look in that group, number one, because I want to see if there's, an option for me to, kind of meet some new people in there. Number one, first and foremost. And then also, it kind of helps me to keep my ear to the ground as far as what are the trends in the food world, because I do a food channel. So I feel like I need to be up on that and up on knowing what are people talking about? If there's restaurants like a Hangry Burger, I need to know about that because I need to know if I need to go and make a video over there at Hangry Burger, which, by the way, I did not film one yesterday. More on that in a minute, but there will be a video there. But, being in that group is incredibly valuable. And I absolutely hate Facebook. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't like it. I'm not a fan of it. And usually it's really just because it's I feel like I don't see enough of the stuff I actually want to see, from family or friends. It's just more such and such shared this or such and such liked that. And I'm well, I really don't care about that. I just want to see what family and friends are up to. What are they doing? What are they posting about? What's the newest in their world? That kind of stuff, which these people post, but I never really see it because it's just the feed is just cluttered with all kinds of stuff. And then of course you have people that, they got to get their shit in, where they're going to talk about, the political stuff, or, pandemic stuff. And that's why I like Twitter a lot, because like anytime I see some kind of a word like related to the pandemic or politics or what have you, I can actually mute that word, or I can mute a phrase. On Facebook, you can't do that. And that really sucks. And that's probably one of the reasons why I don't really spend a whole lot of time on Facebook, because you cannot mute those things, because I just don't want to see that kind of stuff. I have my own stance on where I'm at with that, and I don't feel the need to type out 8 fucking paragraphs to tell everyone why the way I think is right and the way they think is wrong, like a lot of people do. I just keep it to myself, and that's the way to go. That's so much better to do than to actually go out there and just spread you're basically just talking in the wind, because most of those posts usually have like no likes, no comments on them. It's just people just bantering about for absolutely no reason. And I will clown that shit every time I see it, because it's just so wasteful. Like if people, and this is a whole other rant, like Jesus Christ, if people just invested half the time they invest, like if they invested the time they invest like posting stupid shit like that into actually investing in themselves and trying to better themselves, think about how much further along people would be if they put forth that energy. Like I look at somebody like posting something like that, like multiple paragraphs, and I'm like slightly exaggerating. I don't think you can even post multiple paragraphs, but it looks like multiple paragraphs of things. Like that person should be on a podcast, right? Like share those thoughts on that, at least create something from it and find other people out there who are into like-minded things. And then you can have discussions with other people about those things, rather than just posting on Facebook, which is a place nobody really wants to read that stuff. And then I get all these ads, like, just random pages, stuff that I searched for before, which I actually, when it comes to ads, if the ad is like something that I'm actually interested in, it doesn't bother me. Like I could see an ad of something that I think is really cool, and I do not get mad at all when I see it. What I don't like is when I see ads that I feel like, it was a swing and a miss. Like the algorithm thought I was into this, but I actually wasn't. And then they just sent me this ad anyway. Like it was irrelevant. Like I think there was a couple times recently where I was looking up like, stuff on the new Ghostbusters movie. And so like, I would see articles about Ghostbusters, which is completely fine. Not a problem. A lot of it is like clickbait articles with like a screen cap from a trailer. And then somebody like made an article out of that because these sites need clicks. If they get clicks, they get ad money, so on and so forth. There's a whole other rant. And somewhere at some point, I'm going to get back to networking, but just a minute. So, and then I saw like an article about some other like 80s movie. I don't remember what it was, but I'm like, I've never seen this movie. I don't give a shit about this movie. Why are you recommending this to me? Swing and a miss. I don't care. Done. So there's my random like sidebar of the sidebar, 4 minutes of like why I hate Facebook, but networking is really key. So, I'm in a couple of groups. I'm in a couple of Vegas groups because my father's out there, and, I try to go out there a couple times a year to see him. So I like to be up on all the tips and tricks on how to save money in Vegas, how to get, free shit while you're there. Which, by the way, My Vegas, My Konami, 2 of the most amazing apps where you can play and earn free hotel stays, among other things, free food, free drinks, etc., etc. So, but networking is key. So here we are, 9 minutes in, back to the actual fucking point. Okay. So, I saw a post from Jen over at Hangry Burger, and she was like, hey, dear Nova Foodie people, the first 10 people to respond to this message, I'm going to invite you to a soft opening of our restaurant. And basically, if you don't know what a soft opening is, it's not open to the general public. And when you go in there, everything is free. Like everything that you can imagine. Well, not everything. I mean, you get a meal generally. You can order a meal. I was at a soft opening one time for a Yard House in Springfield Mall, and they were like giving away everything. They're like, man, you want to get drunk? I'm like, no, I got to drive home. I don't want to get drunk. I'll have one beer and that's it. But they were offering everything. Like, oh, you want to try this? You want to try that? What looks interesting on the menu? You want to try this? It's just never ending, So that was a whole thing. But this particular soft opening was basically, come in, order a meal. If you want anything else, whether it be liquor, additional sides, those additional sides you will have to pay for. But like a burger, fries, and a soft drink, totally on the house. And I'm like, you know what? That's cool. So I responded and I was like, yeah, I actually do a YouTube channel. I'm interested. I would love to come in and review it for my channel that I do with Larry. And she got back to me in a DM and was basically like, hey, I would prefer if you don't review it yet. Like, let us be open. Let us actually be like in the groove of serving customers on a regular, consistent basis. And then you can review it. But come in for the soft opening. Absolutely come and try it out. And so I'm glad I did. I went in there and it was a very tasty burger. And, as a bigger gentleman, I have had many burgers in my day and I know what's good, at least to me. I know what's good and I know what is shit. And this burger was very, very good. I did tell her that my favorite burger in the area will still and probably forever be Melt in Leesburg, which there is a video on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/The Edible Adventures. You can find that video. If you just type in Melt Leesburg, it's there. So, I would recommend checking that out because I think it's the best burger if you've ever been out there. But Hangry Burger is definitely a really good burger. It's a good value. I mean, for what you get, you're paying around $9. And the burger is just the right size. It's not too big. It's not too small. And, it just has a nice... I described it as smooth. And what I mean by that is for me and my body, when I eat a lot of different things, there are times where stuff goes down and it fucking burns. And I'm not going to lie to you, it burns. And this just went down so smoothly. Like you could tell there was seasoning on the meat and there was definitely toppings and all that stuff, but it definitely did not burn going down, which I appreciated so much. I was like, oh my God, this is so nice. The burger was absolutely delicious. The fries, I did tell them they were a little bit on the spicy side because I did get the seasoned fries, not the regular fries. And I guess with their seasoning, they put, a little bit of spice on it. And I told Jen, I was like, this could be me just being a total wimp. And, I like spicy stuff. I don't go after it. Like, I'm not like, oh, I'm out seeking the most spiciest stuff. But if a food happens to be spicy, it's not that I won't eat it, but I won't go out of my way to order it. But I did not know that in this particular situation that what I was getting was going to be spicy. I had no clue. Hold on. Excuse me. So, I had no clue, but all in all, it was good. The fries were actually really crispy and they had a good body on them. And I was telling her that, and this is something that I've said multiple times on the channel, I prefer something a little bit closer in the middle. Give me a little bit of soft, a little bit of crunch. These were more on the crunchier side, but I'll tell you this, I thought they were done so well that this may have made a case for me to enjoy the crunchier fries. And it's not that like when you bite into them, they feel like rocks or something. That's not what I mean when I say crunchy, but it's not just like super soft and limp and falling over and all that. It's just got a nice feel about it. And so I can't thank Jen and the crew over there enough at Hangry Burger for inviting me over to check out their food, to sample it. And, I told them about the YouTube channel and they're like, yep, we definitely got to get you guys in there. Cause I really want to get Larry's opinion on it because, he's another guy who's had a lot of burgers. I would love to hear what he thinks about it. And so I basically pitched to her like, hey, we'd love to come back like on a Saturday morning. It's usually when we film. And she was talking like, yeah, we'll let you in before we open. We could do a full shoot, like a proper, like something that I've been dreaming about doing for so long that like we typically couldn't do with most restaurants because we don't know anybody in the restaurants. It was nice to have a dialogue with someone that owns a restaurant. It's just like the only people that I know that own a restaurant is Malik's, and they've always been super cool to us. Like, hey, you want to come in and film? Yeah. It just so happened that when we filmed that one video, I had my older mic and the audio sucked and I could not use it. But when it comes to now, I have the right setup. So I hope that one day we'll go back in there and we'll film something. But this was like the next group of people that I've met that are super, super nice. And so we're talking about making like a nice video. And I think that's going to be a lot of fun. So the moral of the story here on the podcast is networking is really where it's at. It's something that I have, ran away from for a while, just more or less because I'm introverted and kind of I'm kind of scared of that kind of stuff. But you really, when you put yourself out there just enough, you'd be surprised at some of the results that you'll find, including meeting some really nice people and potentially getting new opportunities that you didn't already have. And I totally told them, hey, I'm a photographer, I am a videographer, and if you need my services, I'm there. And that is something that I just never really would go and tell people. But I think last weekend when I went to the Armor for Sleep show and I just asked them right to their face, hey, can I shoot your show? And they said yes. That was like a spark that lit in me to where now I feel more comfortable, more confident talking to people and saying, hey, I do photography work, I do video work if need be. I'm down. Like, dude, this is the thing that just excites me so much for the future. And that is that I have these talents. I'm not the most amazing, I'm not the most advanced, but I can produce some pretty amazing stuff. And I know my worth with that. And so now it's the time where, yeah, let's do it for fun. Let's have a good time, but fuck, let's get paid for it too, right? Maybe we can find somebody where we can help them. This is what they're looking for. They're happy to pay somebody to do it right. I'm your guy. I'd love to do that. And if that's you, by the way, hit me up. Gary Cantrell, Twitter, Instagram, whatever it may be. And, man, the music's been rolling. I'm still talking. I should probably get out of here. By the way, if you like this podcast, if you enjoyed it, if you're Apple, you're probably listening to this far, you like the podcast. But if you haven't already, leave a review. They actually do make a serious difference. It's kind of like the like button on YouTube. It just tells the platform that you're on that this is a show of note, and it should share it with other people. All right, guys, thanks for listening. I'll catch you next time.